welcome once again to Refill 100. Today we have a very special program because we have with us an artist, painter, a professional, and that's also an alumna of St. John's International School. We have among us Amy Swartele, and we welcome her. Amy, welcome back to St. John's.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Okay. Well, at one point in your life, you were part of the school community, and life has taken you to different places. Your path of life has been chosen and such. But at the end of the day, who is Amy? Could you tell us a bit for the sake of the audience?
Well, I always think that human beings are many things at once. So I am Belgian and American and an artist and a professor of art and lots of pieces put together. But I lived in many places when I was young, and my father is Belgian and mother is American, and ended up at St. John's in 8th grade, where I took my first art classes at St. John's. So I give Rita Green a lot of credit for fostering my love of art, and have continued in that field and have continued to follow art for the rest of my life and career as I've continued to move from place to place, and now live on the American and Canadian border in northern New York State.
Great. And these days, of course, you are here at St. John's because you are showing you have an exhibition, and you are presenting to the school community as well as to the large public of Waterloo and the rest of the country your work of art. Can you tell us a bit what that work is all about? What does it entail?
Well, this is a retrospective exhibition, so it seemed fitting as I was coming back to St. John's to give some of the history and some of the process and movement in the work itself to sort of come full circle back to St. John's. But common threads that flow through all the work are ideas that everything is connected and that everything is constantly changing. So if you take those two ideas together, that everything is connected and everything is constantly changing, it forces me to break boundaries and break apart categories, because if things are connected, that boundary is at most fluid and probably non-existent. So that's why in most of the work you see many hybrid forms, many chimera, amalgams of different things brought together, because the separations, these ideas of separations or categories that divide us, I think are largely arbitrary or nonsensical. And I'm always looking for how to create relationship or how to see relationship in a different way between parts of the world that we may think of as disparate, as separate. So those are continuing threads, whether that is based on changes and processes of the physical body, emotional, psychological changes, or definitions and changes in social roles and how different parts of human society deal with each other.
Could we take a look at a couple of your paintings so that you could, in a few words or in a couple of seconds, tell us what led you to present your art and your intelligence and imagination in that way?
Sure. We can start with some of the older works that deal more with physical processes and processes of evolution. So this is Stomach Angel, which is oil on canvas. It's from 1999, so a long time ago. And this deals with the human being as holobiont, as an ecosystem, because of all the bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other creatures that work within us, that we are symbiotic groupings, we are symbiotic amalgams, we're not one thing. And this painting plays with that idea of the universe within us in terms of all the creatures that live within us, and perhaps what things look like from their point of view rather than from our point of view, that I often like to turn perspectives upside down and perceive things in another way, and see how the world looks from that different perspective. The piece next to it is Restrain and has a portrait of my sister, who was also a St. John's student, with a couple of fetal pigs as representatives of human children, because the pig fetus and the human fetus look so similar at certain points of development, to imagine through evolution that we are the children of pigs in a way. So if we turn that on its head to become the mother of pigs instead, and what that might look like, which is perhaps why my sister looks somewhat ambiguous about this entire prospect. So dealing with evolution, there's always multiple ideas that go into every piece. This is one of the more recent pieces that deals with the idea of how we consume, not just food, because we consume other things as well. We consume ideas, we consume music, we consume all sorts of different things. So this painting has a somewhat self-cannibalistic aspect. That idea of also how do what we take in and absorb from the world, but also what we digest from our own parts of our psyche and our own parts of our experience, and what we keep and what we throw away. So there are several pieces in the exhibition that deal with this idea of that reciprocal relationship between the world and ourselves that we take in, but of course it works in all directions, and therefore also what we get back, and therefore who eats who or who consumes whom in this relationship. We can take a walk through some additional pieces. This is the most recent piece in the show. This is Listening in the Deeps, which reflects back to some earlier work stylistically, but in a somewhat different palette and in a more playful manner than some of the earlier works. I deal a lot with forms that combine human and animal, or human and just odd lumpy shapes or inanimate forms. And you'll often see many eyes, many mouths, many hands, as I think that these are parts of the human body that we really identify very strongly with. That you look someone in the eye when you first meet them, and you shake their hand, and if they are beloved, you kiss them, and of course your mouth is how you eat. So these are parts of the body through which we interact with the world around us. And so by adding those parts of human forms to odd amoeba-like creatures, I am humanizing those odd amoeba-like creatures, and it's very important to me to humanize as opposed to dehumanize, to value that which might at first appear strange or simply be unfamiliar, to get myself and to get my audience to look at things in a different way, and to value them in a different way than they might at first glance.
Okay. Well, you already mentioned Rita Green as part of your inspiration.
Yes.
So what happened after those moments, those interactions that you had with Rita Green? How was that you found your path?
Well, as I said, my first art classes, I had drawn a bit on my own, and but nothing serious prior to coming to St. John's. But she was such an encouraging voice in terms of visual art, and so emphasized the development of your own point of view and your own voice, your own self-expression. And I continued to study art and theatre, which I also did a lot of theatre at St. John's, and have strong, fond memories of Elizabeth Stefan, who led the theatre at the time in the English department. And so continued those fields into university, and once I had started painting in oils, simply fell in love with the material and never look back. I continued to do some theater, but more and more painting became the focus of my work and the focus of my artistic expression. And continued on into grad school to pursue my MFA, did that, and after doing some commissions and some other artistic work, ended up teaching at a couple of different universities in Massachusetts and Rhode Island in the US. And then got my first full-time teaching job as professor of art out in Cleveland, Ohio, and then ended up in upstate New York, where I currently reside.
Wow, that's quite a story. That's quite a path that you've been walking. Now, in terms of your memories of classmates and your advice to people who at one point in their lives have been part of this community, what would you advise them to do? Would you encourage them to come back and visit the alma mater from where they just grew and took a lot of energy?
Absolutely. It's frankly been lovely to be back. The faculty that I have been working with here now, Alan, and some of the parents and the community have been really wonderful, and it's been lovely to interact with the students. And even from purely an alumna perspective, it's very interesting to see how much things have changed and grown, but still there is a real warmth to the people who are working here. And I think a lot of us have fond memories. I still keep in touch with several good friends from St. John's, and we all have very positive memories of our experience here. And I think, we are all spread so far across the world. It's often difficult to come back, but if it's possible, it's definitely worthwhile. And reaching out to the people who are here now, because certainly I was here so long ago. All the people that I knew here are long gone, but it's been really nice to connect with some of the current folks working here.
And yesterday we had an assembly where you took part and you explained part of your work, but at the same time I think you were already inspiring some of the young students. What would you like to say to our current student population, the ones which are already at the end of the IB program, as well as the ones who are in middle school? What would you say to them?
I would say do not fear. It is tricky sometimes, especially in an artistic path where your path may not be clear, to have the courage to sort of take that leap or to follow the direction that you feel that you should. But I think it's so important to follow your passion, to do the work that really speaks to you, and to not be afraid of doing that. And that, I think, is a really important thing to keep in mind, because if you love what you do, it can carry you through many other things. And the other thing I would say is that you are so lucky now to be able to keep in touch very easily in ways that were not possible when I was a student here. So take advantage of that and keep in touch with your St. John's friends after you leave, because it really is a network of wonderful people, and it's so many of the students who are here have a very nomadic experience, and in the wider world that is relatively unusual. So you all have something in common that is a big part of who you are now and will perhaps remain a big part of who you become later. So keeping those relationships can be very rewarding for you. So I would encourage you to do that.
Okay, now this is the advice that you are giving to the young population of our school community. What message would you give to the parents of those young students, as well as to the wider community of Waterloo and Belgium? Why should we come to see the exhibition of Amy Swartele? Why should we do that?
Because it will show you things that you have not seen before. Because I put together things that you do not normally see in relationships so clearly, that it will give you a different perspective on things. And the paintings are colorful and vibrant, and because it's a retrospective, there's quite a variety in the work. So, you know, go to the things, look at the things that speak to you or move you. But it's a chance to come back to St. John's and reconnect here, but also it's a chance to think about yourself and the world around you in a new way.
Okay, well, Amy, I will finish with one last question, and it is more about your personal view. As you might have learned, I teach now these days theory of knowledge and philosophy. How do you see the connection between your work, between the arts and the teaching that I do in theory of knowledge and TOK?
Well, I said to somebody at the opening yesterday that in terms of thinking about human beings and what makes us human, as I have many human-ish forms in these paintings, that we are, one description that I'm paraphrasing, not exactly, is we live between the angel and the ape, right? So we live between the transcendent and mundane. And so questioning where you live in the world and how you live in the world and how you position yourself, or how you can look at things from multiple perspectives and see ideas in relationship to each other, I think is so important in being able to move through the world. And I think, of course, that's part of the things that you focus on in theory of knowledge, is thinking about thinking and thinking about how your perspective and the filters that we use creates your meaning or your reality in the world.
Okay, well, Amy, we thank you. I thank you very, very much for giving us your time, for sharing with us your paintings, your wisdom, your expertise, and giving us your advice. And indeed, friends, you have good reasons to come and visit the exhibition. The exhibition will continue until almost the end of the month of October. You can come every day between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. You are most welcome, whether you are part of the school community, or whether you are part of the Waterloo community, or whether you are part of the Brussels community. Everybody is welcome. Just come at those moments, make a reservation, and you will enjoy visiting this exhibition. And in any case, I thank you also, the audience, and we continue working and we continue inviting our alumni to reconnect and to come to St. John's, this time for the exhibition, but next time it will be for the next speaker series that we are organizing on Monday, the 13th of October. Bye now, all the best.